Let's examine some of the important concepts in scientific research. Unit of analysis. You can look at this as the smallest unit of observation within your research. So which means, for example, when I was talking about social vulnerability of household in Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Abuja, the smallest unit of observation for that research will be the household. So which means when I'm collecting data, the smallest entity or unit from which I'm collecting data is my unit of analysis, and in that sense, for that particular case, it is the household. It could be the head of household or one of the representatives from the household that can give me information. So unit of analysis, smallest unit of data collection for your research, or you can look at it as the person or the collective or object that is the target of your investigation. Concept. A generalizable property of an object, event, or people. A generalizable property or characteristic. So let's bring it more to life by looking at examples. We can look at a person's attitude. That is a concept. Remember, within someone's attitude, there's so many different aspects to it. But we can generalize that as an attitude. So let's say in the case, let's be a little bit more specific, the attitude towards immigrant. People have different attitudes towards immigrant, which means what is essentially their kind of disposition towards immigrant. We could look at another example, a firm's capacity for innovation. There's so many things within that, but we can generalize it and say, what is the capacity? Is it high? Is it low? Is it medium? If we look at attitude, are we going to say the attitude towards immigrants or certain people? Is it friendly? Is it accommodating? Or is it hostile? Within that generalizable characteristic, there are many things that we put together to formulate that generalizable property or characteristic. Okay? A car's weight is made up of so many things. So we could look at that as a concept. Okay? So if we move on, we can also look at gravitation. Why do people, this could be a measure of why people gravitate. What is the level of attraction towards a particular shopping destination? We can look at distance as well, which has to do with social separation, not the physical separation between people. So concepts may be objective image in the sense that they may be precise. For example, a car's weight is precise and it's objective, but it could also be abstract. For example, a person's attitude towards immigrants, gravitation towards a particular shopping. So there are some concepts that may be abstract and some may be quite objective and precise. So we should have that at the back of our mind. From concept, we move on to construct. We generate construct from concept. So which means constructs are operationalized concepts. So you have some concepts that you have in mind. Constructs turn them into measurable entities. So a construct is an abstract concept that is specifically choosing to explain a given phenomenon. So for example, if I have a concept of attitude towards immigrant, I can look at specific measure that can help me to actually measure that attitude. What I've done there is I have operationalized the concept by turning them into constructs. So remember, if I look at a person's weight, it's a very, very straightforward concept, and I can turn it into a construct. Okay, so let me reframe that. When the abstract concept is choosing to represent or explain a particular phenomenon, then it becomes a construct. Another way to look at it is, take for example communication skill. In order to take that communication skill of concept, I could look at the vocabulary. How wide is the vocabulary of the person? How well can they formulate sentences? How fluent are they in speaking? How well can they spell? When I combine all these four together, I can choose as many as possible. I can use that to represent their communication skill. In this sense, where I have four different measures, that is an example of a multi-dimensional construct. If I have only one measure to represent that concept, we are talking about a unidimensional construct. So if I'm talking about a car's weight, I'm looking at a unidimensional construct, or a person's weight, or a person's height, or the distance from location A to B. These are unidimensional constructs. But when I'm using more than one measure to represent a particular concept, then it is a multidimensional construct. So another thing we must familiarize ourselves with is variables. They are measurable representation of a construct. So if I look at the height of somebody as the construct of interest, when I measure the height, it becomes a variable because it can vary. So remember, variable are abstract entities. Constructs, they are abstract entities that are used to represent the construct. Okay, so let me try and rephrase that to avoid confusion. So when we have constructs, at times it's not possible for us to measure them directly. When it's not possible to measure them directly, we use proxy. So for example, if we talk of intelligence, we can use IQ score to measure intelligence as the variable of interest to measure intelligence. So under variable, and remember the other time when we're looking at communication skill, we're looking at fluency, we're looking at spelling, we're looking at all the other four or the other two components. Each one of those can become a variable that we are interested in representing or explaining the communication skill of a particular person. So those are variables that are used to represent a construct, which is the communication skill. So the communication skill is the construct, the spelling, the fluency, the vocabulary are the variable that made up this particular construct. And in this case, that construct is a multidimensional construct. Variables are the things you measure. Remember that. So we may have independent variable or dependent variable. Independent variable is a variable that explains the other variable, while the dependent variable are the variables explained by other variable. So independent variable explains other variable. Dependent variable are the variable explained by other variable. If you look at the example that we have up here, if we look at intelligence, intelligence can explain the achievement, academic achievement. So intelligence, okay, sorry, that's a mistake. That's the mediating, which we are going to get to later. Intelligence can explain the earning potential, how much somebody has the potential of earning. So intelligence is the independent variable explaining the dependent variable, while the dependent variable is the variable that is explained by all the other variables. Okay, so intelligence explaining the earning potential, independent variable explaining the other variable, which is the dependent variable. So we could also have the moderating and the mediating variable. Mediating variable is explained by the independent variable, so it is right in the middle. Okay, so the intelligence explains the mediating variable, which is the academic achievement. Intelligence explains achievement, academic achievement. The more intelligent you are, or the level of your intelligence, dictates the academic achievement you're likely to have. However, on the other hand, moderating variable influence the relationship between the dependent and the independent variable. So it moderates, it tempers. So intelligence explains the dependent. However, the level of effort influence how much intelligence is going to determine the earning potential. Intelligence explains the earning potential. However, the level of effort influence how much of explanation we are going to get from intelligence in determining the earning potential. This illustration that you're seeing up here is what we refer to as the nomological network. The overall network of relationship between a set of related constructs: intelligence, effort, achievement, academic achievement, earning potential. All these are related construct. So overall network which explain their relationship is called a nomological network.